Hi! Welcome to Luxury in Moderation, where we appreciate the finer things in life without going overboard. So today's video is a continuation of my fine jewelry collection, which I did last year, and I'll link that above. But basically, I got a few new things since that video, and I actually forgot to include some things in my first video, and that video was just already so long. So here is part 2 of my fine jewelry collection. If you're new here, my name's Joanne, and every week I upload videos about luxury handbags and other luxury lifestyle videos. So if you like what you hear, please consider liking this video and subscribing below so you can join me on my luxury journey. Now, the very first thing that I want to start with is my wedding band. So I did get married and I finally had my ceremony after a whole year of COVID delays. So I just wanted to show you the wedding band really quickly. I do have a video already dedicated to my engagement ring, so I will link that above as well. But this wedding band is very simple. I picked out the design and it is white gold and it is also encrusted with diamonds about halfway through. So there's no diamonds in the back half, and in the front the band does pinch in as like a center point. And I specifically picked out this band to go with my engagement ring because I did want the two rings to sit nicely together and not clash. And I did try on a couple of options, I think, you know, just with it. If the band had been all the way around, then the center stone of the engagement ring would have completely covered some of it or like pushed it down. So that's why I did want to go with a simple but beautiful and elegant design. And then the second piece I'm actually wearing on my other hand today. So this is a yellow diamond. So this yellow ring is a fancy yellow. So when you're talking about colored diamonds, they do give them different names, and those different names usually correspond to different qualities and how a diamond is graded. So this is a fancy yellow color in the center, and it is just over 1 carat. I do think it is a cushion cut. And then there are just 2 rows of diamonds down the sides on the band, again, halfway through. So this ring was a wedding gift from my dad, and it was actually a ring that my mom had. So my mom had it resized because her fingers are a little bit thicker than mine. I don't have a yellow diamond. I don't have a color diamond at all, so I love that aspect. And I also don't have a stone that is in the cushion cut, and I think it is a very beautiful cut. And then you can see that the way that the ring is set, the claws that hold in the center stone are yellow gold, whereas the band is either platinum or white gold. So basically the designer chose to set it this way with the 2-tone colors because the claws will actually help accentuate the yellowness of the center stone, whereas the silver band will help the diamonds look more shiny. I think this kind of 2-tone setting is becoming more and more popular, or at least I've seen more iterations of it. So now let's move on to some rubies. First, I do have a pair of ruby and diamond earrings now. And again, I do not have my ears pierced, so they are clip-on earrings. But this is the pair here. There is a smaller ruby on top, a larger ruby on bottom, and then there is a design of diamonds that surround the rubies, so it looks like more of a teardrop shape. And then the other ruby I have to show you guys today is a very, very special ruby, which is on this ruby ring surrounded by diamonds. So the ring does look very, very large, but a lot of it is the design. Now, the special thing about this ruby is that it is unheated. So I don't know if you guys have heard the term before or know the difference between heated and unheated diamonds, but basically most of the jewels and stones in the world today that are bought and sold are heated, which means that once it is taken out of the ground and then somewhere between the cutting process, the refining process, when the design house, actually makes the stone sellable, they heat the diamond or the ruby or the sapphire, and it changes the chemical composition of the stone. So basically, if we go back to basic, what jewelry is, they're chemicals, right? Like a diamond is carbon molecules bonded together very hard. And a ruby is just another set of chemicals bonded together. So when you heat these chemicals, it does change the chemical compound, and therefore it does change the way the color and the stone looks. So for example, this ruby on the earrings that I just showed you was probably heated. And normally that does make the color more vibrant. So I don't know if I'm like getting the sunlight on both of these correct right now, but this heated ruby on the earring is a little bit brighter red, if you can tell. Whereas the ruby on the ring is a little bit of a darker, dimmer red. It's still a gorgeous red, but the color is just not as, bright in your face. So that is a characteristic of an unheated stone. And I did do some more research on, heated and unheated stones, and I'll link what I found below. But basically, heating a stone does increase the color and transparency, and therefore makes the color on the stone look brighter. And again, most of the jewels in the market today are heated because we like that bright color. We like seeing the color that we bought. That's usually why you'd buy a red or a blue stone, is because you want to see that color. But in about the last 5 years or so, there has been an uptick and demand for unheated stones because of our general trend of moving towards more natural way of living, less man-made, less chemicals, less changing nature. So just like the way that we're going green with everything, now there is a higher demand for unheated stones. So that actually increases the value of the stone currently, because again of the demand that we have for unheated stones these days, and because they are a little bit more rare because most people do heat the stones. And then finally, the last unique thing about this ruby ring is that it can actually be converted to a necklace. So the designer for this was very clever. They wanted this design to be able to sit on a finger or on a neckline. So what they did was that for the back of the ring, they obviously still needed to keep the jewel secure so that, wouldn't just fall apart when you didn't want it to. So there is a way to unhook the band part of it. So I just use my nail, I unhook this little clasp. I don't know if you can see that really well. And then I actually just pinch the band to unhook how it is secured to that massive center, and then it comes apart. So now you can see the two parts more clearly. This is the band part, and then this is the jewel part, and this is that little hinge that I just untucked from the band. And then now I can push it back, and now you can see that this stone just sit alone. And on the top here, there is a massive opening in case I wanted to string a regular chain, so then it becomes a pendant. Or it is even more versatile in that on the other end of the pendant, there is another little hinge that I can flip up here. And now you can see a tiny little hole there. So what is this little hole for? You are actually supposed to thread this hole through a gemstone necklace. So usually on gemstone necklaces, there is a little hook inside the diamond necklace that I have, and then this can sit on a diamond necklace. So really appreciate the design of this. Not only is the back just beautifully carved with these designs, they didn't just leave it blank or solid and ugly, so that is still gorgeous, but they also made it very versatile. So now I'm just going to put the ring band attachment back on to the pendant. Again, I'm going to squeeze the band a little bit, position it in that center hole right there, and then flip that hinge back to secure it. And then there you go, I have my ring again. All right, moving on to some sapphires. So this was another wedding gift, and this time from my uncle. And he presented me with this brooch. And it is just a ginormous, delicate design of sapphires. In the center, there are a lot of little sapphires, all around the same color, probably the same quality. So, you know, it looks like a cohesive center of the flower. But then as you look at the petals, you can see there are different shades of blue as you go out from the center. And then it eventually fades towards clear diamonds. So just very interesting knowing that the jeweler, not only did they have to design this piece and figure out how many stones he needed, once he figured that out, he then had to go and pick the blue shades that were either matching or were slightly different from each other, and then place them all in order so that the flower would look cohesive once it was all created. And also look how 3D it is. It's not just a flat brooch. There is a lot of craftsmanship that went into, you know, the different edges. And then the back of the brooch, there are holes for every single stone so that the light will shine through. Like I mentioned in my fine jewelry for beginner videos, it's all about how the light hits the jewel and how we like that sparkliness. So we have to get the light coming through the flower so we can see the blueness in the front. And then there are 2 pins here to slip through a shirt because it is quite heavy, you know, with the size and all of the stones on it. I'm sure they thought, you know, 1 just wouldn't do, and so they wanted to reinforcement with 2. So that is the sapphire beauty that I have to show you. I honestly have no idea how to wear this brooch. I don't know if I've ever worn a brooch, and I always think it kind of looks a little older or a little bit more mature. With the CC brooches, I don't think that's an issue because, you know, that's just branding. Whereas this design, you know, it is quite mature, I think. So if I were to pin it just on a regular shirt, people might think I am a few years older than I actually am. So I'm still trying to figure out how I should wear this. If you have any tips, please let me know. I looked on Pinterest last night and it seemed like, you know, with collared shirts, you could like pin it right in the middle. So I would love to hear your suggestions. Now moving on to my 2 jade pieces. So I'll start with this one. This one my mother gave me, I believe, when I went off to college, somewhere in those years. It is a very vibrant green, and then it is surrounded by diamonds for that extra bling factor. But basically, I think this is in a special shape. I think it's supposed to look like a kind of carrot design, and it is supposed to keep me safe. So there is certainly meaning to the shape of the jade. And there are also some larger diamonds here for where the pendant can loop with the chain. So that is the first jade piece. I wear this sometimes, less so recently, but I do want to get into the habit of wearing it. And then this piece is even more special because it was my mother's, and you know, I asked for it and she gave it to me. It is Just another heirloom piece that, you know, she wore this so much when I was growing up. It just reminds me of her. Now you can see that this jade is much less vibrant than the last green one. So let me bring that out again to show you. Look at this green versus this green, right? So this second piece is much more clear white. There's only a little bit of a green heart here in the bottom, as they like to say. And now there is, you know, much more variety of jade that people sometimes look for a jade that is whiter and less green. But traditionally, the more green that you see, the more people wanted it. So actually, there's a huge market for fake jade that is like just obviously food colored green. So I was taught that jade is alive, and the more I wear this and the more that jade feels the heat of my skin, the greener it would grow. So obviously you can tell that I have not worn this very much because of how clear it is. But supposedly, and I believe it, if I wore this like every single day, the green would get more and more green. But let me tell you a little bit more about this design. Basically, this design looks like one of those old time stamps that they used to use in China, but very, very similar concept of the stamps and the candle wax that they used in England, or, you know, whenever they used to write letters, you would pour the hot wax on the letter and then you would stamp it with your crest, right? Or your last name or things like that. Well, they did a very similar thing in China. It wasn't used to seal letters, but it was used kind of like a signature. So at the bottom, they would carve your last name or your full name or something, and then you would dip it in ink and then like stamp the letter that you were like, okay, like I sign off on this. So that is what this is, although there's nothing engraved at the bottom of mine. It's just very smooth jade. At the top, it is a little lion. This is a very, very traditional design in Chinese architecture and Chinese history. You can see it in a lot of temples. So it's just super cute to me. It is quite dirty where the sterling silver has touched the jade, so that's why it's kind of black in the hole you see there. But if I scrubbed it with a toothbrush, I'm sure that black would clear up soon. Now getting to the two bracelets that I'm wearing today. These bracelets are very traditional engagement gifts in the Chinese culture. And I don't know the entire story, but I know that whenever one of my cousins get married, we buy them bracelets like this. I think someone gave these to my mom when she was getting married to my dad. So they've been in my family, you know, it might have been an aunt or something. But I do believe that they are white gold. I don't think they're platinum because it has started to oxidize a little bit where the hinges are, or maybe just the hinges are a different metal. Because platinum, I looked up, doesn't really oxidize, it doesn't change color. But the design is basically facets engraved into the bangle. So you can see how those different facets hit the light here and just make the bangles sparkle. So there's no diamonds or stones on these bracelets. They are purely whatever material this is, which I'm not sure. There is a hinge for me to slip it on if I need to open it. So again, just the hinge lift up. And then there is another button here, right up top, to keep the two sides together. So if I push that down, then I can then pull the bangle apart. So you can see there is this part here that fits into the other side of the bangle. So it's very, very secure. The next piece is this egg that I got in Alaska. And basically Alaska does have a lot of influences from Russia because they are so close. So we went to a town and they had a lot of influence from the Russian eggs. You know, you hear about the Fabergé eggs, and they made a pendant version. So I spent the longest time picking out my egg. I found out on this trip that my favorite color is blue because I ended up with a blue egg. See just the craftsmanship that went into this, painting those little tiny forget-me-not flowers. I also learned what a forget-me-not flower was. So it was just a very eye-opening experience, you know, being so young, getting to travel, getting to learn about different cultures, different worlds. And then finally, I just wanted to mention the pendant that I'm wearing. It is not fine jewelry, it is glass. So this was on another trip that I took with my family. We went to Venice, and there they do have a glass blowing culture. They had a lot of different pendants to choose from. This is the one that I chose. There's a clear glass on top, and then a blue backing where they also have the gold pendant part. And then in the center, you have a gold foil that they have some other glass designs on top. So just a very fun piece to wear. That completes part 2 of my fine jewelry collection. Please let me know if you have any questions. I am very grateful to my parents for beautiful pieces that I need to learn to enjoy and wear more. So just getting into the habit of wearing these pieces so that they're not just sitting in my caboodle gathering dust. I definitely need to wear that Jade lion more so it gets more green. Thank you guys so much for watching today and spending your precious time with me. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss my future videos, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye!